items. So the first item on the agenda is the CRL update, and so great to have John Bridgman, the chair, and Patrick Brocky, the CE, here. So come on up, gentlemen. Oh, and Mark's coming up too, Mark Lambert from AT. So welcome. And as I say, this is to receive an update as to how things are going on under the city. So morning and welcome to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the committee again for the opportunity to come along and update you on City Rail-Link and where we're going and how we're getting on. I just wanted, if I could, to open with a couple of comments about the project before I had to hand over to Pat, who will run through the presentation and update you on progress and how that's progressing. First of all, I'd just like to acknowledge, since we've been here, since I was last here, we've got a new Chief Executive, Pat Brocky, who was been with the project for quite a few years. I think since 2019, very soon after we got underway with City Rail-Link. And so it's very familiar, and I'm pleased to say in the 6 months effectively you've been in the role, you're doing an absolutely sterling job, and getting the team working well and progressing in what is a very challenging part of the project. As we've outlined to you previously, testing and commissioning and getting the facility to a working, safe and operable position is the most challenging part after building the concrete and underground works. And we've made some really good start on that. We've had the first train operating through the tunnel, and that's continuing. We've now got trains running in both directions and up to about 40 kilometres an hour through the tunnel. People are starting to notice the trains turning up at Britomart and the doors not opening, and then seeing them disappear into the tunnels, which is an exciting prospect. It's quite a significant thing for the project and has created a lot of momentum internally amongst the project team, such a milestone. And in the coming weeks, the trains will get up to 70 kilometres an hour, which is the sort of operable speed for the testing program. And it's fair to say that the trains are working well, and it's doing what we would want it to do without significant hurdles in that aspect. That's not to say the rest of the testing and commissioning will necessarily go as well. There's history has told us on these projects to expect challenges, and we will face those as they come, and surely they will come. The other thing I wanted to just open with was, since we were last here, there's been a bit of speculation about the commercial aspects associated with the project, and I just wanted to front foot that if I could. The project is going well. We have a very good working relationship with the Link Alliance and the key construction partners, and that is progressing. There was speculation as to time and cost, particularly when it was revealed we had an assessment or review being done on the project. That's the third of a number of reviews that have been done, and continues to provide us with a good basis for dialogue with the contractors about how they can improve and what they can do better and what the end of the project looks like. And we've received an action plan from the last review, which the contractors are acting on and progressing with. And with any major project, there is commercial discussions. There's a lot of money at stake, and we have those commercial discussions on an ongoing basis. And we expect that to continue through past completion of the project, and both sides would anticipate that not to be an unusual event. We don't see significant problems in us being able to do that, but obviously it's not a conversation we can have in the public domain. It's one that needs to be held within the confines of the parties involved, and we'll continue to do that and keep shareholders abreast of challenges should those occur. But those were the opening comments I wanted to make, and sure, happy to answer questions perhaps at the end if they relate to those. But hand over to Pat to give you a bit more detail about some of those aspects.
Thank you, John. Good morning, and thank you for giving us a chance to talk about the latest update on the project. I'll hope this is working. Here we go. As John just talked about, look, a very exciting time with the first train on the 12th of February. I was down there. There was a reasonable sized crowd there wishing us well with the first train, and I'm also aware from those, including my daughter, who's travelling on the train every day, seeing the test train come through and go out the other side at Britomart is a unique experience that a lot of people, a lot of commuters are really looking forward to, and seeing the test train go through the tunnel through Britomart is quite exciting. So it's an exciting time for the project. I don't know if this will come up as a short, there was meant to be a short video with this, and just going to see if that works. Perhaps. Not sure, Victoria, if this...
We're just bringing someone up, Pat.
Okay,
Try and operate that.
We can always come back to it too, Chair.
I think there was one, it wasn't contained within the pack, there was a
Right.
picture, but the video wasn't there.
It was going to be a short video of just the journey of the first train through the tunnel from Britomart right up to Mangawhau station.
We are going to try and get it for you, but carry on.
Thank you. And as John pointed out, it's testing is going well. Multiple trains running through the tunnels, and the maximum speed, we call it line speed, is 70 kilometres per hour. So we hope to achieve that in the next few days. From a health and safety point of view, our performances, and certainly the performance of Link Alliance, our contractor, is extremely good. But we're very much aware we're in a heightened risk area of the project with the overhead line energisation, which occurred early February before first train, and then we have multiple train running through the tunnels, and that is in addition to the systems work that we're doing, and that's putting power through the systems, the various systems that we will have in the tunnels and in the stations. So we're at what I would call not a necessarily risky part of the project, but certainly one where we're very focused on health and safety and maintaining the good track record that the project has. But there are increased areas that we need to focus on with energisation of the tunnels and, of course, powering up of the systems within the stations themselves. So we're certainly not complacent. As a general update, we've covered first train. Construction itself is over 90% complete, and we'll show some photos of the station shortly. The contractor, Link Alliance, have informed us that they feel an achievable project completion date for the works is December 25, which is 1 month further on from the current date in the project delivery agreement of 26 November 25. So not a major movement. And possibly to be expected at this stage of the project with the complexity of the project we also face. But just to alert you to that. There's also the Kiwi Rail rail network renewal program, which you're aware of, and that will that's gone. I'm not speaking for Kiwi Rail, but that's gone well to date, and they will still have a block of line program where the trains are not available to commuters at the end of this year. So over the January 26 period. But the overall project is tracking within the agreed funding envelope. John touched on some of the commercial aspects of that. So far so good there. The station fit out and the systems are a key piece of work at the moment, particularly the systems, and we hope to complete those by the middle of 2025. The station entrances are coming along well. You'll see some photos of those shortly, hoping to complete those within the second quarter of 25 across all 3 stations. Targeted Hardship Fund has been key for supporting businesses around the stations. There is materially less disruption as we are able to pull down fences and complete the urban realm works around the streetscape works around the stations. But that does continue, but there is substantially less disruption now around the stations, and that will continue. I'll talk about emergency services later in the presentation, but there is very strong collaboration there. And testing commissioning, as you saw with the first train, is underway. Probably just even though there are some exciting developments, I would just stress that is still the most challenging part of the project. You'll hear me say that quite a bit, but it is true, and all experience overseas tells us that. And there will be surprises, not ones that we predict, that may cause some challenges for us. So we're certainly not complacent, again, in this last period of the project. Tunnel vent system testing is going extremely well. I like these photos because when you take people through the stations, the tunnel vent and the fans are very impressive. They're 8 tonnes, they're extremely large. They're larger than a Boeing jet engine. They're required, of course, to keep the tunnel safe, but that testing is going well on all the stations and just gives you a sense of the scale of the project. At Karangahape, there is works developing particularly around the station entrances. You can see the ventilation shaft there at Beresford Square being installed, and the paving around it being completed as well, opening up the stations again to those walking around the area and to assist businesses. And you can tell from the stats there with fit out and civils work that we are very advanced. The urban realm works are a little bit further behind, as you would expect, as we complete the works, and there's less equipment, less goods and services coming through the stations. We can actually then close the area, or certainly close the area around the station. So that's a streetscape reinstatement, as an example, paving, lighting in the area, tree pits in certain places, and landscaping. So we're trying to complete those. But that would lag the other works that have been going on. The signage at Karangahape's up. That's a nearly 7-metre sign that's just been put in. And then you may recall that Karangahape station has one of the largest escalators in the Southern Hemisphere. I can't claim it's the largest yet, but it's certainly one of them, probably in the top 2 or 3. That's pretty impressive. The scaffolding is coming down slowly within the Karangahape station. It's been the last station to have its scaffolding removed. You can see the porcelain panels and the works going on the exterior. Tiwai Horatu is the most advanced of the 3 stations. We also have you can see from the photo top left, the platform information displays, we call them PIDs, are being installed at all 3 stations. We have the ticket gates installed. They were there first at Tiwai Horatu, but they are now being installed at the other stations too. And you can see the feature ceiling at Tiwai Horatu is extremely impressive, and there's one element in the middle there that's still to be added, which will be added shortly. But this it is really looking like a finalised station. I'm sure councillors will recall the bluestone wall down Albert Street. That's also making really good progress in terms of reinstating the bluestone wall, and hope to complete that very shortly. And there's some additional works around the bluestone wall, but the bluestone wall itself works will complete again very, very shortly, the next couple of months. At Mungafo Station at Mount Eden, good progress being made there also, as you can tell from the percentages of fit out and civils progress. On the right hand side of the photos you have the waterfall surface, so we'll have a waterfall. It has lava triangles that have not been installed yet, so it'll look very impressive. Those who have been to the Mungafo site will remember a large shed which we used for storing spoil from the earthworks. That's being removed this month. It's a big shed, 8 metres tall. Again, it's a sign of coming to the close of the works there. There's still some works to do at Mangawhau relating to the bridges at Fenton, Mount Eden, Porters, Normanby, but it's various stages of completion. Of course, ongoing work to the buildings and the platforms. You see the ticket gates have been installed at Mangawhau as well, and the ticket machines in the middle photo. Signage is up at all the platforms and stations now too, both in English and Te Reo. This slide is just to give you a bit of an idea of the different stages of testing we're going through and where we are today. So we're at stage 3A and 3B, which is the site installation tests. You know, we're installing the system's equipment and then we have to test it. The systems include ventilation, heating, communication systems for security and emergency communications, lighting, quite a wide range of systems. Our key subcontractor for all of these is Honeywell from the US, a big global firm, but they're challenging. And we need specialist skills for these, and it's sometimes difficult getting all of those skills. But we're on track and hoping that the testing process will go well. Then you have the train running tests, which involve running the trains at different speeds, multiple trains on the tracks, ensuring the track issues are resolved, and any what we call snags or minor defects and more major defects are addressed through the testing process. So we start with design, you then have installation, and then there's a commissioning period with these different stages. So you can see from this we still have some way to go. Just jump the slide. This slide will tell you, highlights how much more of the testing we have to go. There are over 9,000 tests in total. We're approximately 13% through these tests, so there are over 8,000 to go. So a significant way, and that is highlighted. Primarily these tests will occur at the three main stations of Te Waihoratu, Korangahape and Mangawhau station, as you can tell from the percentages there. So really, you can argue at the beginning of that testing phase, and the rest of it, and this will continue through the rest of 2025. And then finally, the emergency services. They're a very important partner for us. I was on a call recently with the chief executives from the four agencies there, Police, Fire, St John, and Auckland Emergency Management. There's very good and very strong collaboration with them. This has been going on for some time. A lot of visits to the tunnel and the stations by the emergency services, training activities. There'll be further testing with the emergency providers through the course of this year, but I'm very pleased with that collaboration, and we look for that to continue. It has been a challenge in other projects offshore, so you can't take it for granted, and extra resources that are required from them to support us through this phase of the project. That was the last slide from me.
We've got the video.
Oh, great, thank you. Chair. I'd just like to conclude by mentioning just with that film, we started off at 5 kilometres an hour and went very slowly. We're just checking that the clearances were good with the train and the platforms and any other obstacles in the tunnels. You always start off slowly and then ensuring that the dust in the tunnels, because there have obviously been a lot of works, didn't create any challenges for us either. And that's been a gradual progress, now building up to 40 kilometres an hour, as John said, and then hopefully full speed, or we call it line speed, over the next few days. I'd like to conclude also by saying that it's very important that we thank our partners in this process. To get to first train include very strong collaboration with KiwiRail, AT, but also Auckland One Rail, who are running the trains. That partnership has been critical for this success. It's great to have Mark Lambert here with us, who, if he had questions on day one, I know Mark will be able to help us with that too. So thank you.
Thank you, Pat, and always impressive seeing that many people with clipboards. So there's obviously something very serious going on. But so someone like to move that we receive that. Thanks, Desley, and thank you, Chris. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against carried. Right, questions. Desley.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is getting really exciting, isn't it? Look, I had 2 questions, and I think you've answered one of them. And that question was around the financial risks to the budget envelope. That, were there any risks around that? You're pretty confident you're okay within the budget envelope? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Councillor. As of today, yes, we believe we can stay within the current funding envelope we have.
Right. And then my second question is, just because it wasn't kind of clear in what you said, sort of on behalf of the people that are walking around the stations and seeing a whole lot of, seeing them come to life, the actual station frontages, and i.e., when will the disruption stop happening around the station frontages, i.e. Albert, Merrill Drive, Victoria Street, Pitt Street? You said the second quarter. Do you mean the second quarter of the financial year or the second quarter of the calendar year?
Sorry, I meant calendar year.
Oh, they'll be done by Christmas.
Well, with the second quarter of 2025, so by the middle of 2025, so by June 2025, a lot of the works will be complete around the stations. There'll be odd pockets, Councillor, where that may not be the case, but generally speaking, they'll be pretty clean by that point.
Great, that's fantastic.
Sorry about that. Wayne.
I just wonder if you could indulge me by putting up that earlier slide that you had that went through the commissioning progress around, safety and testing and so on. You know the one I mean? Slide that, okay, that'll do. Okay, so the question I've got just goes to the cost of the testing and commissioning, particularly as it goes to the nature of the project, which is essentially an underground rail line, and I'm assuming that many of the aspects of testing result from that. You've got to have special fire and all sorts of things. Do you have any rough cost breakout for that component of the project?
No, we don't report that way. Sorry, thanks, John. We don't report that way. We do have, between ourselves and the contractors, we manage breakdown of costs. So the stations, civil works, for example, systems, but it's not something we report externally.
But it would be fair to say to be pretty substantial.
Yeah, I mean, the civil works, the big part of the build is behind us. We have, in terms of total spend, there's less than 10% of the total spend of the project to go. That gives you some sense of scale.
And just a related question, just in terms of oversight and the like, is this aspect of the project maybe relatively more controllable in terms of costs than the build aspect?
I don't know how you compare, it's difficult to compare systems. The issue with systems is possibly just the unknown unknowns you get. And and then you're integrating with an existing network and just how that will go. So we're certainly not complacent about that. And it is those unknown unknowns when you're integrating a system, and with the number of diverse systems we have across in the stations, as I mentioned, ventilation, fire, heating, lighting, the risk that something doesn't go quite according to plan is high. So we just cautious about being too optimistic about that. And overseas experience would tell us to be cautious, that last part of the project can be challenging. So we're expecting it to be challenging. It's good to get first train testing underway, but the systems part of it is still to come.
Just one very last question. Given the advancements in AI, do you use any AI at this point to test out multiple scenarios?
I think you're right that will come, but not for us in this project.
Thanks, mate. Chris?
Thanks, Chair. Patrick and John, thanks very much for this presentation and your work there. Your executive and your board will be well exercised watching budget versus spend at this stage, particularly with the political eyes on this project. I'm interested in understanding what's possibly at threat there of not being delivered due to a review of scope or specification. When you get towards the end of the project, you can't review what has been spent. It's in the ground, it's done and paid for. I'm interested in the public realm, the detailing and specification and expectation of all those quality outcomes that were promised. And so with that in mind, can you tell this committee whether the executive and or the board has considered reports and decided on any reduction in specification at this, what is a detailing and delivery stage of a lot of the public realm? That's, the final finishing, the parts of the project that the public will experience as a quality place to be, etc. So I'm very specific. I want to know if the executive or the board has considered and reduced specification.
No.
That's a great answer, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I agree with the answer. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for the presentation. I'd like to ask a question. On the 4th of December last year, Aucklanders who read the New Zealand Herald learned that CRL Limited had written to the sponsors, presumably Auckland Council and the New Zealand Government, with an outline of their concerns and a lack of confidence in the Link Alliance's reporting and forecasting. And in the letter, CRL Limited said it would issue a notice to the Link Alliance, quote, indicating their lack of confidence with the provision of risk, both time and cost, and seeking a meeting to discuss concerns. And then we learned that leading executives of VINCI, Grand Projet, the French company which is leading the Link Alliance construction, was sending executives to Auckland in December, but we never heard anything else. I think the information was disclosed by mistake, and that's how we Aucklanders learned about it. So may I ask you, what actually happened? Did the meeting take place? and what actually happened. In summary, of course.
Yes, I think Auckland has learnt about it through disclosure of one of the committee reports to Auckland Council, and the meeting did take place. As I said, we had a joint review undertaken of the project between us and the contractors, and that review, the essence of it and the initial findings were the basis of discussion between the chair of Vinci and myself in December. And as a result of that meeting, as I said earlier, there was an action plan prepared by the contractor that's been presented back to us, and they are now enabling and enacting that action plan. They've continued to, the chair has written to me confirming that they expect to have the project complete in December this year, as we said in the presentation. And we continue to work very closely with them to ensure that that's the case. There's still significant challenges on the project through the coming year, and it's possible that there could be some slippage beyond that. They're working hard to ensure that doesn't occur. And we continue to have some conversations with them about cost of the project and what that looks like, particularly for them from you know, they're interested in their margin on the project, as you would expect an agency like that to be. And we'll continue to have those conversations with them. We are confident, as we've already said, that we'll deliver the project inside the funding envelope, and that everyone is planning, and we expect the project to be open to the public in 2026.
So can we assume then, after these discussions, that your company's confidence in the forecasting by the Link Alliance, both in terms of time and cost, you have more confidence in that now?
Yes, it's improved.
Okay. Can you tell us, can we look back at that previous slide? I have to say, some of us were at the launch of construction of the project with the Prime Minister John Key and Mayor Len Brown in 2016. So we're looking forward to the opening. So can we move forward to the slide that was just up before with the, carry on please. That's it. Go back.
That one?
The green box, CRL open. When is that?
Next year,
Pardon?
2026.
The actual date?
There isn't one set yet.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Julie?
Thanks. Thanks very much for this. Really exciting. And my question was around the hardship fund. And I know that you've had a lot of involvement in that as in your previous role too. So I just wondered if we could have a bit more than the bullet point about how that's going. Will there be a bit of a sort of lessons learned because it's the first of its kind? And obviously, interested in how we might look at that kind of thing in the future.
Thank you, Councillor. I wouldn't say it's been easy. For businesses, it's been difficult, not just because of disruption caused by our works, but also economically with COVID. If you definitely have, and I certainly have empathy for those businesses that have been through, I call the trifecta of difficulties and challenges. And as you know, I think you know, I'm aware that I visit some of the businesses that have been most disrupted personally, often sometimes with Barry, who's very good at joining me from time to time. I'm seeing 2 more businesses tomorrow, in fact, that are struggling. So it is difficult. I think there will be lessons learned. I think it would be great to take advantage of what's been established and see how other projects could benefit from the lessons learned from ours. It wouldn't have been perfect. I do believe we've tried to do the best job we could. We've tried to be really quick in terms of making payments to businesses again, not hiding behind our desk and going to see them and talk through the challenges they have. Offering financial advisory support where we can, or where a business is willing to, or sees a benefit in taking that up. I think that's always something we try and do. It's not just about the money. I think it's also about there could be other challenges that they face that we can help them with, that maybe not even related to the project. So I'd like to think there'll be absolutely take up your challenge a little bit on lessons learned and doing something about that we can then share with future projects. We're not out of the woods. As soon as we can finish the works around the stations and clear those stations up and allow foot traffic through, it'll help those businesses a lot. When I go on site, which is every week, I'm constantly asking the site managers, when can we bring the fences down? When can we finish the paving and free up the space so it becomes easier for customers to walk around and get to the place they need to get to. We're very conscious of that. Could we do better? I think you can always do better, but we're trying to do the best we can.
Thank you. Do you think the fund will be fully exhausted?
It's a good question. Looking forward, forecasting, possibly not, if I'm honest, but I think it'll be close.
Okay, and I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but what percentage of sort of the total project cost would the fund be in comparison? So the size of the fund to the size of the budget for the whole project?
Was $12 million for THF, and the total project cost is around 5.5. So a percentage, I have to do the maths, but it's probably it's small. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Chris?
Gentlemen, may I thank you most sincerely for the careful stewardship on a project that is so very dear to so many of us over many, many, many years. And I want also to acknowledge Barry Potter for ensuring the visibility of bringing this project to us. I'm well pleased with the progress. You know, I've been very realistic about how many tests will be required, and probably at previous appearances you've had at this committee, I've been trying to grill you down on being realistic about it, but it does feel to me like the end is in sight, and so that's really exciting. To that end, my question is to you, and I think I said to you last time, success has many parents, but failure's an orphan, and it's wonderful to see so many enthusiastic people about the CRL now that might have voted against it all these years, but never mind, we're very happy to see all the parties coming into line, because this is going to be a game changer for Auckland. I'd just like to know that the people who have fought for a long time, the David Warburtons, the Len Browns, I'm sitting looking at Bernard Orsman, who I think we promised, did we not, at some stage, would be the first journalist to actually get a ride around. While I don't always agree with Bernard, he has consistently and conscientiously followed the progress of this project for the last 30 years. So I want to have the confidence, and that we are, whether it's the Chris Meals or the John Duffys or any of those people who have had such long roots into this project, that there is going to be a way of keeping them informed as the D-Day gets in sight, and that we can show the graciousness of the inclusion of all of the parties, because big infrastructure projects take decades to get off the ground.
Yes, it's a good point, and we'll pick that up and ensure that's the case.
Thank you, Chris. Morris?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Can I just pick up on Councillor Lee's question to you? I feel very concerned that the numbers on this project can even get worse than they already have. It was going to be 2, then it was going to be 4, then it was 5.5, and I think, from what I understand from some Treasury insides, that we're going to see even a bigger number than that. What I find really uncomfortable is you came along here with a briefing today, which looked good and about what's going to happen, and a green box which says it's going to open. But I think this Board of Governors here deserves a lot more detail about that letter, about what was the concern. You said there's still some things being worked through, And if you want to, you can have a confidential session with us to brief us about the specifics. And the reason I'm saying that is we're the ones that will get it in the neck from the voters when the cost blowouts occur again and again and again. And we've got to answer to those people, why is this? Why is there more? Why is it over that? And I just feel really let down by what I think is a once-over lightly briefing compared to what could have been a confidential briefing with very, very specifics of issues that have yet to be resolved, what the mitigating factors you're putting in place to resolve them, and what, at the end of the day, the pricing for all of those might add to the project. I'll leave it at that.
So you'll consider.
If you'd like a confidential briefing, we're happy to give you, closed briefing.
We'll have a chat offline.
We can have a chat offline about that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no further questions. Oh, no, Josephine?
Oh, I see. It's only green. Green for go. I just wanted to ask to ensure that we're not having a siloed approach with when City Rail Link starts up and then our level crossings. So I wanted to know, because both pretty much should be connected, because once you're in action, then it affects our suburban train stations. So yeah, just wanted to make sure that there's that connection happening.
I can talk to that, councillor, briefly. So they are connected, absolutely. As you'll be aware, there is a longer-term programme around level crossings, which there was a briefing yesterday on. But in terms of day one, we are looking to enable some additional closures than what we've already done and already got in place. And the whole rail timetable is built around what is the existing number of crossings which will remain open. And as you can see in the table, the slide there, final rail safety case, which is a regulatory approval of procedures and the timetable itself, that all takes into account level crossings as well. So it is a holistic system that gets considered.
Thank you.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you, gentlemen. Great to see you. Thanks for your update. Is there any discussion or debate on this? You can step back. Yeah. So none. Okay, thank you very much. We've already moved and done all that bit, so well done. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Carry on. Okay, next item up is the